class of 102 students. There was a survey asking if they use Facebook or not. And the result was found that 63 out of 69 females in this class use Facebook, and 27 out of 33 male students use Facebook in this class. So we want to know, does this data provide any statistical evidence that females use Facebook at a higher rate than males? So we want to write our null and alternative hypothesis for this type of test. So the first thing to note is, what type of test is this? We're testing the difference in two proportions. So we've got the proportion of females that use Facebook and proportion of males that use Facebook. So let's write down our population parameters. We're going to let pi, let's call it sub f, denote the true population proportion of females who use Facebook. And notice I'm going to use pi instead of mu because it's a proportion. Pi is the Greek letter for population. So we don't actually know this value. This is what we're going to assume something about in our null hypothesis. And we're going to let pi sub m denote the true population proportion of males who use Facebook. Okay, so this data right here, we have a slightly higher percentage of females. 63 out of 69 is around 91%, and 27 out of 33 is around 82%. But we want to take this data and come up with a null hypothesis. So let's write down a null hypothesis. It needs to involve our population parameters, in this case our population proportions, and it needs to be equal. We're always assuming something is true for a null hypothesis. So we're going to assume these are in fact equal. So our null hypothesis is that there is no difference in our population proportions. So a couple other ways to write this, just to note, is that our population proportion of females is equal to the population performance of males, meaning the difference is 0. So again, these are just two different ways of writing the null hypothesis. Now write out in English. So for the null hypothesis, we assume there is no difference in proportion of males and females who use Facebook. Okay, so this is 3 different ways of writing our null hypothesis. Proportions are equal. Again, the difference is 0, which is the same as proportions are equal. We'll write it out in English. We assume there's no difference in the proportions. Okay, so our alternative hypothesis, we want to provide, does this provide evidence that females use Facebook at a higher rate? So our alternative hypothesis, I'm going to write with the H subscript 1, is that females, the proportion is higher that use Facebook than males. So this would correspond with this way of writing it, or we could also write it as a difference. So the proportion of females and the proportion of males who use Facebook is greater than 0. So the saying the proportion of females minus the proportion of males who use Facebook is greater than 0. And finally, we should be able to write this out all in English. So the alternative hypothesis is that females use Facebook at a higher rate than males. And notice that is in the prompt. A lot of times the alternative hypothesis will be in the scenario we're trying to test. But here is our our null hypothesis written 3 different ways, and here is our alternative hypothesis written in 3 different ways.